Today on CityCast Chicago, the Blackhawks are forging a newish path forward. The Bears face the Packers at Soldier Field, and the Sky can still make the playoffs. Making sense of this 4-day work week is Corley J from Crane Chicago and Shakia Taylor from the Tribune. It's Friday, September 8th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago is talking about. Morning, Corley. Morning, Shakia. How y'all feeling today?
Morning. Good morning.
Hey, I appreciate both of y'all being here. We got a lot to talk about today, but as people will notice, there's a theme here throughout our conversation. We're going to be talking a little bit about sports today. So I wanted to start y'all off with a conversation Simone and I were having earlier this week, and it was about the best Chicago rivalries. This could be in sports or it can be out of sports, but what do you think is Chicago's best overall rivalry? Corley, you got a smile on your face, so I'm going to start with you.
This is tough because I heard y'all talking about the Uncle Remus and Harold's debate, right? And as a native Southsider, you know I love me some Harold's. But I did have Uncle Remus like not too long ago, like for the first time. I want to say like last year. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, damn, y'all might have gotten us.
Dang.
But,
is it real like that?
It's just it's like in the back of my head, like I would never say that to a West Sider. Like
they gonna hear this. They gonna
hear this.
It's in the back of my head, but like I mean, they both fine. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, but they might have gotten it just like a little.
Oh my! Is it the chicken? Is it the sauce? Is it the crunch?
It's the sauce, bro. It's the sauce. Like I was just taken aback. Like, damn, I didn't think it could get better than Harold's, but I tasted that sauce and I was like, I ain't even gonna say nothing. You know,
I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like I've only had Uncle Remus in like the background. So maybe it was at like a barbecue or a cookout or something, but I've never walked into an establishment, given them my money willingly. And Corley, as my, like me and you, we be vibing on these Southside biases. And to hear you say that the sauce busting enough for you to even question your loyalty.
Yeah,
it sounds like
I love this.
Sounds like I gotta go do it, G. And I can't get the one over on 47th. I gotta go on to the west side.
Hey, no, that's the one I went to.
Oh, you went on 47th? Okay.
Hey, I went to that one. That's all I'm about to say. Like, I ain't never went to the west side and got it. So.
Oh my God, Shakia, the very first time we had you on CityCast, you had just written a ode to Harold's as this sort of moment in every Black Chicagoan, but every Chicagoan's life. Now, Corey, you're talking about Uncle Remus, G. Is you going to be writing Uncle Remus' story?
So I got to tell you, I've had both, right? Like, I got West Side cousins, I got South Side cousins, and I've had both at family functions. I'm cool with either, but people be hitting me like, when is the Uncle Remus piece dropping? When's the Uncle Remus piece dropping?
Nah, we got to do the
like,
episode.
See?
We clearly got to do the episode. We bogus. It's my South Side coming through. Oh, my God. Shakia, what do you think is the best Chicago rivalry? In sports, out of sports, what do you think it is?
So I'm going with Detroit. I'm sticking with the cousins theme. I feel like Chicago versus Detroit is a very cousins sort of fight. It's the family fight, right? Mm-hmm. We're all Midwestern cousins. Like, our people all from the same places. You know, we got slightly different accents or whatever, but I'm going with Chicago and Detroit.
I like that. I feel like people talk city, it's either New York, Chicago, maybe Chicago, St. Louis. But I mean, if you think about like the Bulls rivalries of the 90s or even the early 90s, right? Them sort of late 80s, right. It was Bulls Pistons. When you think about the Hawks and the Red Wings, and then when you think again, when we talk in Black Chicago, Detroit and Chicago probably get the most hate of any two sort of Black cities that I can think of, constantly being used to down talk. So but that rivalry between us is still there, right? When we talking house versus techno, things like that.
Mm-hmm. I also think like Chicago and Detroit, it's like we can talk about each other, but you can't talk about us.
That's like the South and the West side of Chicago, right? It's like we will fight, but like, what are you talking about, Ravenswood? Be quiet. We're not talking to you right now. Well, I'll stop by the German Oktoberfest up in Lincoln Square later, but right now we having a family conversation. Now, I feel that every single Friday we bring on great friends to talk about the stories they were following this week. Corley, I want to hear, what is that story for you? Southside Weekly wrote a piece in the last week that looked at Chicago's public access television network, CAN TV, and they had some questions. What were some of them?
Yeah, so this story came out on September 1st, and it was a big one. I reported on CAN TV about their signature programmings before, and this piece looks at the problem it creates and talks about how public access station CAN TV has been limiting its resources to the community. How since like the start of the signature programming, community partners who are residents basically that are trained by staff to use the station's resources haven't had access to work on their content, which is what public access TV is for. So the concerns were aired on a program called The Elders, which was canceled after they broadcasted some disputes from employees about management and problems they were having. So current and former employees talked about fighting for better working conditions, better equipment, having high staff turnover rates. There were also concerns about an outside contractor being hired to do work, being paid more than the employees. And so one of the community partners, he actually sat down with CAN TV's executive director back in January about his concerns. And he told them the shows, which are the signature programs, were meant to generate more revenue for the station. And it's just kind of really sad to hear, because I think that they could probably work in unison where you can have the signature programs, which are 30-minute slots that are hosted by CAN TV employees, but also have the slots for the community partners, which is what public access TV is for.
Yeah, CAN TV has been around for 40 years. I have been on CAN TV as a guest host on Chicago Newsroom. But one of the things I did not question, because I wasn't truly familiar with the model, is just how much it had served as a training platform, as a sort of first space of entry for a lot of people looking to up their platform. What do you think Chicago loses if sort of everyday locals aren't able to access those resources?
We lose a home for people to kind of hone those skills. You know, that's really important for those local programs when people don't have that kind of background and they don't have that skill set traditionally, but they're going to the station to learn, and then they have the opportunity to have these programs. We lose a lot.
So we'll continue to follow this story as it unfurls. Shakia, I want to come over to you. A month and a half ago, the Blackhawks' longtime owner, Rocky Wirtz, passed away, which really set up a ushering in of Newish leadership, because the Blackhawks have had a Wirtz at the helm since Rocky Wirtz's father owned the team, dating back decades and decades. But now Danny Wirtz, Rocky's son, is here at a time in which the team is coming off of some losing seasons, major controversy around their handling of sexual assault cases over the last decade. What did we learn from this interview with the new president and CEO of the Blackhawks?
In an interview with the Tribune's Phil Thompson, great colleague, great writer, Danny Wirtz just talked about what it meant for him to step into his father's shoes. And he also took enough time, I think, within the story to differentiate himself from his father. He talked about not leading with fear, having conversations with people. And I think that's important in any regime switch when it comes to a franchise as storied as the Blackhawks. They've been through a lot of really negative things lately, some of it self-inflicted. Like, there's no question about it. And I think a regime change could signal something positive, assuming that's what Danny Wirtz wants to do. We have issues with the name. There are still people who want that logo changed. We don't see this too often, particularly in Chicago sports, where the person running things changes. For example, Jerry Reinsdorf, he has been in charge of the Bulls and the White Sox for probably all of our lives.
The McCaskies.
Yes, exactly. It's a huge deal. It's kind of like almost like when the Ricketts took over the Cubs, except that was a completely new family, whereas this is a longtime NHL family. They've got roots both here in the community and the NHL community at large. And, you know, they've seen the number of fans at the United Center decline by the thousands because people were unhappy on a number of fronts.
I mean, when I was sort of looking through Danny's interview, it reminded me of an interview with him and his father a couple of years ago when a reporter posed to Rocky, well, how is the team going to move forward? And you saw Rocky sort of really get antagonistic and said, we're not talking about that. We're moving forward. And even then, Danny seemed to position himself differently in terms of, we're here to answer questions. We need to sort of rebuild this trust with the media, with the fan base, with our team and organization. Is that something he spoke about in this interview as well, about what it means to rebuild, not just people's hope on the ice that we could get back to, winning the number of Stanley Cup championships. We held 3 up in the 2010s, which a huge accomplishment for the Wirtz family and for the city. Did Danny talk about rebuilding that trust?
In the story with Phil, it didn't really seem to get too deep into what he plans to do. There was a lot of reflecting on the loss of his father, because throughout this transition, he's also grieving a parent. And I think for any of us, we can look at the humanity. Yes, this guy grew up with everything. He is a billionaire. His family, they're billionaires. But losing a parent is something that any person would, feel some sympathy for. And it really seemed to be him coming to terms with, I'm the guy now. And my dad isn't here. And I'm not like him. And I think he's kind of having to brush up against expectations, both set by, Chicagoans, Hawks fans, and his dad and his family. Because I think when you step into those roles, you also take the position of the patriarch now. You are the next man up in a lot of different ways. So he didn't get into too much about trust with the community, but I hope in the future he does. That is significant. You need community buy-in to survive, particularly in the city. Just look at what's happening with the White Sox.
Yeah, you talk about becoming the patriarch. Wirtz will is now the head of not only the Hawks, but the family company as well. But like you said, there's still many questions sort of left. And I don't think this city will be quick to sort of be like, oh my God, we got the number 1 pick. We got the the prodigy. Let's just sort of move forward and think about the future. I still think people have questions about the past, and I'm interested to see how Wirtz steps into that accountability, because he was here. He was already in a leadership role throughout that process, but now being the guy who has to answer those tough questions, I just wonder how he takes to that position. The Hawks preseason will start later this month, with the season kicking off in October. And so obviously we will be paying close attention to both what these fellas do on the ice and off of it. Corley, I want to bring you back in here. Last year, a story was written about this vendor market opening up in West Pullman, and now there has been some additional good news about its future moving forward in the neighborhood. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the market has been extended to December. It's put on by Far South Community Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit based in West Pullman. The program allows for Black-owned small businesses to experience what it's like operating in a brick and mortar. So it first started, like you said, in November. It was supposed to end in May, but due to a grant from the Coleman Foundation, it's extended, which is cool. They sell things from like designer clothes, candles, skincare, household goods, coffee even. It's on 115th and Halsted, really close to me. And I ain't even gonna lie, I have not made it over there yet, but I am gonna stop over there after seeing that it's especially been extended. So there's really no reason for me not to stop by and patronize these businesses. I recently actually talked to the president of Far South CDC, Abraham Lacey, and we talked about how like many of the business districts on the South Side, like on Halsted or 79th Street, have like lots of big box retailers like Family Dollars who don't necessarily give back to the community, right? And the need for zones where people can have things like more outside dining and fun places to go on the South Side, especially Far South Side.
I mean, one of the things that's been cool just in my neighborhood over the last few years is watching something like Boxville grow, right? It's supposed to be in many ways this vendor market that gives people an opportunity to, like you said, experience what it's like to have your own storefront without some of these really large commitments. If you want to learn more about the West Pullman Marketplace, I will drop a link in the show notes. You can visit businesses like Aries Rising, Body and Soul Experience, Javez Java Coffee Roastery, and more. Shakia, we started this conversation talking about Chicago rivalries, and one that is technically not a Chicago rivalry, but it feels like one. It feels like it's about Chicago. It feels like it's about generational differences. It feels like it's about the soul of basketball, and it's the GOAT conversation. Obviously, Chicago, many of us fall on one side of the aisle, but you recently wrote about how this conversation of who is the basketball GOAT feels exhausting. Tell us about this column, and how did this question come up?
So this came along because I went to watch a college football game with some homies, right? We go out, we're having some beers, some snacks, right? And the conversation initially was about Big Ten and SEC football. But then the argument, we'll say, devolved to Jordan versus James, Mike versus LeBron. And I could not roll my eyes back in my head any further. Because it's never ending. It's pointless. No one is changing their mind. I don't believe at 21 years or 20 years into LeBron's career, if you're a Bron fan, that you're changing your mind. I just can't see it happening. Yeah. I also can't see Jordan fans being like, oh yeah, by the way, you know what? I was wrong about that. I've been wrong. It's just not going to happen. What is the point anymore? Mm-hmm. Everyone has lost the plot. It is more feelings over facts than anything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And y'all, I have heard people be like, but whose shoes you got on? Nobody's wearing LeBron's to the club. Okay, also no one's going to the club. It's 2023. Where is the club? This argument is a waste of time. And I feel like people who engage in it are arguing for the sake of arguing. There's no new information. Because at this point, in LeBron's career, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's just stat padding. What else is he there for? 21 years in the league, bro. Go be with your family.
Well, ain't that why he in the league though? Because he want to play against his son. Ain't that why he's
exactly? That's exactly what the story is.
They might win another championship.
And you know what? If they win, are you going to say that he's equal to Jordan?
Honestly, I'm gonna be real with you.
I want you to be real.
I think LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time.
Oh,
we're not talking about greatest basketball career. We're talking about faster, stronger, better handles, more dominant at the rim, better three-point shooter career-wise. At their height, Jordan was 100% a better defender, did more for basketball. I think Jordan is a great one. But if we're talking about basketball player, passing, shooting, rebounding, the whole
so he's a better athlete. You say he's a better athlete.
That's exactly
and that
what
translates
he's saying.
to a more thorough basketball game to me.
I also believe the game of basketball has evolved.
100%.
Right? So we're talking about different players, different eras, different positions, different needs, different asks, different types of players on the court, right? These athletes today, and I mean this complimentary, they're freaks. They are freaks. They are fast. They are huge. They come back from injuries very fast. These kids are built different.
They are.
And so I think sports has a problem in that we love to compare historical figures against present day figures, and it's not necessary. I feel like comparison is the thief of joy in this instance.
No, I feel that.
Because if you're watching LeBron to compare him to Jordan, how are you enjoying LeBron?
No. Good point. And honestly, and my argument changes depending on what day it is, depending on how I'm feeling, what position I'm arguing for. Because you throw a Jordan compilation in front of me, I'm like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? This don't even make sense. Every single episode of CityCast Chicago ends the same way with some good news. We want to give people something to look forward to, something positive that they can do this weekend, something to get them through this episode, get them through the day. And Shakia, I'm actually stay with you because I think this is all something we can celebrate. What is your good news this Friday?
Well, my good news, and I'm going to hit a ooh, is cooler temps. I feel like we have been hot and miserable. I'm not saying it should be cold, Corley. Like, but I want you to go outside.
Corley was
in
disgusted.
This 70. Yeah, she was gonna give me the stank eye. Like, but I feel like I want you to go outside, fit it. You can go outside, fit it. You ain't got to worry about armpit sweat. You don't got to worry about passing the gray t-shirt test. Like,
Corley got a sleeveless turtleneck on right now. You already ready for the temperatures, but you got a flat outfit and you wish you didn't have it. You like, I love this outfit, but I wish I wasn't wearing it. I wish I was in a tank.
Exactly. No lies.
I welcome the return of what I like to refer to as denim jacket weather. Can I go outside in short sleeves or a tank top and a denim jacket? Can I wear a denim jacket and a dress? This is the time. So to not be sweaty. I have gone out a couple times and I just want y'all to know, Chicago, you stink. You need it to be cooler outside.
Look, I'm not mad at high 70s, low 80s, but low 70s, high 60s can miss me.
I will say it's fifth season. It's fifth season though, Corley. You can get some real outfits out now. Dressing for the summer, I'm over it. Because there's no thought there. I feel like I'm having to pack extra shirts just in case.
You can only get so naked in the summer, and be publicly appropriate.
Yeah.
I wore a dress last Saturday, and I was miserable, and I was wearing a dress.
That made me think. I love that WBEZ story that came out this week. That was just like, even if it's 100 degrees, kids gonna wear their hoodies.
Them teens and them hoodies.
Because that was me in high school, bro. All summer, I had a 2X, 3X hoodie, 3 times sizes too big. It don't matter if I had shorts on, flip flop. I can't even say I didn't stink. I was in high school wearing a hoodie. I probably smelled terrible.
Boys
I probably smelled terrible. I can't even say nothing to it.
But it was kind of cold in the school. If you in school all day, it's cold in there. That's understandable why you got a hoodie on. But like if you outside of the parade, you got on a hoodie. What's wrong with you?
You bugging. Corley, we're gonna bring it over to your some good news. We talked about best Chicago rivalries, and let's be real, that conversation was inspired by the oldest rivalry in the National Football League, and that is between the Bears and the Packers, and that will kick off the Bears season at home this Sunday. Talk about why this is good news for you, Corley.
Oh my God, this is great news for me because, I love the Bears. I was not able to go to a preseason game this year, which made me sad, but I'm so happy to be able to watch the game, historically at my grandmother's house, with my grandfathers, all crowded in front of the TV. Sunday, Soldier Field, 325. We in there. I'm excited to see Justin Fields go off. But I do think that the Packers are going to make him throw. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see what he do with these new wide receivers. I'm super excited to see what's going on with this O-line. We got some new linebackers from Green Bay. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be good. What was our record last year? 3-14?
Yeah. Yeah. 3
okay.
14. It wasn't great.
Okay, so my prediction was wild last year, but
what was it? Remind people. What was your prediction last year?
I'm gonna say 10-7.
You a fan.
I'm gonna say 10-7. Yeah.
Fan. 10-7. No follow-up questions. I'm keeping that recording, and I'm gonna have him just splice it out so I can send it to you on a loop, my G. 10-7.
Wait a minute.
What was it? She was damn near pushing double-digit wins, and they won the least amount of games in Bears history. But like you said, there were some things to be excited about over the offseason, right? New linemen. Mm-hmm. We got DJ Moore, supposed to be a more explosive wide receiver. We picked up some linebackers. I'm excited to see what we do this year. And Corey, what'd you say your prediction is this year? What you thinking, 9-10 again?
Okay, let me talk, okay? So, I predict that we win at least 8 games, right? But I'm about to go all out and say we win 10. We're definitely going to the playoffs, of course. And there is no double doinks, obviously. So, there we go.
Wait a minute. Can you repeat that for me as someone who writes sports? Say that one more time.
She said we're going from 3-14 to, you said we're going to win.
We're going to win at least 8.
Did I hear the P word? Did you say playoffs?
She said,
yes.
Do you think as a wild card or you think we're going to win the division?
No, I'll give it to the wild card though. I ain't gonna lie.
I don't know if 10 games gonna get us into the wild card, maybe.
I think, yeah. Y'all gonna be calling me. I'll be like, look, like Corley was not wrong, bro. Like,
Corley,
come on.
You got that mustard seed faith Jesus and them was talking about.
No, that was okay. Shakia has nothing but like that mouth is cocked over to the side, like a strong side. Like,
Listen,
when it's not a side eye but a side mouth, that's a different level of doubt, G.
That's called I'm just locking my words away. Like I look, I did a fan story earlier this week. I did a fan story, right? I talked to 3 diehard Bears fans. Bears fans are on a different kind of hope, and I kind of love it because the excitement is great, right? Mm-hmm. It's great, but I sometimes I'm like, maybe we need a comp, maybe we need to temper it, maybe take a walk.
No,
you know?
There is no, we're not humble. We're not playing. We are.
I'm not asking you to be humble. I want you to have this energy on Sunday. I'm gonna
be turned up. Let me follow you on Twitter so you can see.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna follow you back.
I love this.
And we're gonna have some dialogue on Sunday. I'm going to the game. I'm gonna hit you from Soldier Field and be like,
oh
hey, friend.
God. Yeah.
Hey, friend.
How you feeling?
Yeah.
Hey, and I'll correct myself. Teams did squeak in. The Bucks got in with only 8 wins last year. Their division was ass.
Go.
The Giants and Seattle got in with 9 wins. So I mean, it's doable. I don't know if that's going to be enough for us. But hey, we shall see. From one team with Corley level playoff hopes to another team who is literally fighting for their playoff life tonight. Some good news is dedicated to the Chicago Sky, who are trying to sneak into the playoffs with just 2 games left in their season. The WNBA playoffs only take the top 8 teams, and right now the Sky are holding on to 8. We talked about this throughout their season. It was a tough off-season and season for the Chicago Sky, from losing key players like Vandersloot, Quigg, Stevens, of course, Parker, and the off-season too, coach and general manager James Wade packing his bag and throwing the deuces in the middle of the season. This team really could have just folded in on themselves, said, forget it, we ain't got nothing to look forward to, and yet here we are, 1 home game left, 1 road game left with an opportunity to squeak into the playoffs if we're able to beat the Minnesota Lynx tonight and the Connecticut Sun on Sunday. Hopefully the LA Sparks cough up some games as well. And that makes me extremely happy. I'm planning to go to the game tonight to support them against the Lynx. I would like to see the Sky continue their 5th straight year in the playoffs. So let's root for the Sky to end the season strong. Let's root for the Bears to start their season strong. Let's root for the Hawks to get it together in some form or fashion. And of course, let's root for Chicago Tribune sports writer Shakia Taylor, and from Crane Chicago Business, Corley J. I appreciate y'all making time for me here on this beautiful Friday.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was hilariously awesome. Thank you so much.
Fun.
Thank you so much.
Always fun.
Before I let you go, I want to give a huge shout out to the people who helped make CityCast Chicago possible. Our lead producer is Simone Alicea. Our newsletter editor is Sydney Madden. Our producers are Lizzie Goldsmith and Grant Irving. Our roving newsletter editor is Natalia Aldana. The music we all love to listen to is from the homie Sam Thousand, All the Kimonos, and Mark Greenberg from the Mayfair Workshop. Hey, if you enjoy the show nearly as much as I love making it, rate and review the podcast wherever you listen. Subscribe to Hey Chicago at chicago.citycast.fm, and make sure you join us bright and early Monday morning. I'll talk to you then. Peace.
Look. I was cracking up. I think it was last week's episode we had the outtake like at the end, and you had did that shake that ass for Chicago.
Shake that ass for Chicago. Hey, thanks Simone for that one, because I was tripping on Mike, and Simone left that one in. So thanks Simone for that.
I started like busting up on the train. I was like, oh my God, that should not have been so funny.
Hey, we got remixes for days over here.